Another area where we see a lot of issues is really having a policy and procedure around the fact that there should be no data exfiltration coming out of the system. All of the data is supposed to stay within the PeopleSoft system. It's a great policy, but how do you enforce that? So one of the things that PeopleSoft does is through grids, through queries, it makes it very easy to download data out of PeopleSoft, especially when you're thinking about different devices that are out there and where people are accessing your system from. You definitely want to contain a lot of those scenarios, and you want to make sure that least privileged. If I've got an administrator that's doing payroll, do I want them to be able to download payroll information to their home computer? Probably not, regardless of what they've been trained, because I don't want that information outside of my network. So you'll see here for the grid, I can attempt to download this grid, and really this is any grid, regardless. So we can put up an HTML message. So I just said download to Excel. It can't be done. But there was another event that just occurred there as well. So we now stopped that from downloading. And of course, we're going to log that as well. So if I actually go back, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I am going to, let's look at compliance, but I'm going to change this scope back to the last 15 minutes so we can see top 10 users downloading data. PS1 downloaded information on person names. We can see top 10 pages with sensitive data for download. So somebody attempted, to look at it, had PII level 1 information on it. When we look at it from the perspective of PII levels. So what we've done is we've categorized this, and I'll show you in just a second how we've done all of that. But you can see that we've categorized the information into PII level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 3 is really public information, so you don't really need to track that. But level 2 or level 1 really is defined information as to, let's say, a national ID. That's level 1 information. It is the most secure information, or supposed to be the most secure information out there. So obviously there's other fields that can coexist. Maybe for some organizations, it might be bank account information. They deem that as level 1. That's configurable within your organization as to what data elements can consist within those two levels. So we can automatically categorize that information for you and give you the raw data as well. So we can see, March 2nd, user ID, IP address, personal data, personal names, went through that. Why are there a few of them out there? I just did the refresh of the page, search for those users, those types of things. We can also see the job data information in there as well. Compensation information isn't really level 1. Maybe it is for your organization, so that's where the challenge comes in. But when you think about this information from an auditor, how familiar is the auditor going to be of the PeopleSoft system? Do they understand where all of this data is going to be stored and accessed inside of PeopleSoft? Probably not. So typically what they're going to do is they're going to come to the end user, the super user, or the admin, or the managing development manager, and say, can you tell me where all of this is? Can you answer all of these questions? Okay, maybe we can, maybe we can't. And at that particular point, that's where it starts, you find the holes in your audit logs. So how do we do this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to PeopleSoft, and I want to dive into one of the setups inside of our system. So inside of our application security platform, so that we're going to install a new menu item, the Appsian Security. Under Appsian Security is going to be the Appsian 360. Under here, there's a few different options, but I'm going to drill into the PII setup. Why do I want to start there? Because this is what we've done for you to set this up. We're building metadata about metadata and automatically providing this to you with our analytics and dashboards. So what we've done is split this up into the different systems. So you can have a PeopleSoft Campus, Financials, or HCM. So I'm kind of talking about HCM and working in it in the moment, so I'll just pull that one up. So what we've done is we've pre-categorized all of the fields that are delivered inside of HCM into level 1 or level 2. So maybe you want to extend that, so you have the ability to create an add-on and extend. So your custom fields you can put into whichever layer you want. Maybe you need to move a field from level 1 to level 2 or vice versa. you can do that as well. All of those choices are there for you because it's all configurable. But the nice part is what we're going to do is we're going to pull that all through into the analytics side as well. But what does this do for you? And this is all part of the analytics platform. So if I look at the birth date field, for example, so if I click row counts, what we've got here is tables that have that field that have data in it. So there's rows of data out there inside of tables that actually have the birth date field. So now I know I've got 32 different tables out there that I need to worry about at the database level. And we're going to give you the list of what they are so you can cycle through all of those. The other side of it is, and this is where it really comes down to a challenge for the auditor or even the functional leads who might be in charge of people accessing this data. And this is where understanding the roles, separation of duties really comes into effect, because if we look at these references, you're going to see a mass explosion of how many different areas that this particular data element's accessible on. So there's 342 different pages that actually contain this information on them. Obviously, that's going to be display. They're not updating information on all of them, but they've got that on 342 different pages. So then what we've done is giving you the menu component and page to access that. You can have the full navigation if you want as well, or you can directly jump to that page via the URL that will show you there as well. So it allows you to understand, where is my sensitive data even at? How many different pages is it proliferated to inside of the system, and how do I report on that? So this is where we've combined all of those things together to really give you that solution, because whatever the fields are in here, that's what's driving the information coming in on this over here. So it takes and blends that information. As I said earlier, we're doing metadata about metadata. So from that perspective, it allows you to work smarter, not harder, because you can now just pull this information up and have access to it at your fingertips. So really, really nice setup. One of the last things that we can also show you there is queries. Is anybody written any queries that have access to that data as well? So you want to be concerned about that and just know about it. So really, from the auditors, they can now become very self-service as to understanding what's happening in terminology that's important and that they understand in their world when they're not application experts.